Hello and welcome to Prelude number 2 by Villa-Lobos. We're going to be diving into this fantastic prelude, but with a caveat. We're looking at the second section first. We're going to check out all the right hand patterns and the left hand hacks you need to get this up and running. I will say this, that if you haven't played through Etude number 1 or Etude number 7 by Villa-Lobos, then I suggest you have a quick look at those because they will definitely help you with making this prelude a lot easier to play and perform. With that in mind, let's dive straight into Prelude number 2 by Villa-Lobos. Welcome very much to Prelude number 2. We're going to be kicking off with a couple of explanation exercises first. The main thing for Prelude number 2 is there is only one right hand pattern pretty much for the entirety of it, which is this one. Which turns up again in the second section in this variation. With that in mind, we're going to look at the second section first. I would suggest you learn microstudy number 1 fully because it'll help you with getting the second section up and running. Main tip here is practice your left hand and your right hand separately and then put them together. Do not try and put them all together as one big unit as second section. Again, small chunks into large chunks. Right, let's dive into microstudy number 1, second section, right hand pattern. Alrighty, microstudy number 1. Microstudy number 1 is the second section, right hand patterns, and we're going to look at them as open strings first. A couple of things. Full planting to begin with, which will really help. That's plant, play, plant, all fingers, and then play. So that'll help secure it. Use a metronome. Be very, very clear with the pulse, and also be very clear where the pattern ends, in which fingers and which hands, especially on the second variation. To begin with, there are 2 variations to the pattern in the second section. The first is a variation that starts with a thumb strike, down 2 strings, and then onto 4, 3, 2 on the first finger, 4, 3, 2, thumb strike, IMA, IMA twice. So altogether that looks a little bit like this. Please notice full planting. Sequential, full plant, full plant. That will help secure it and get it up to speed. Okay, then the second variation on this pattern is the mechanism sits on strings 3, 2, and 1 this time, and then it is a thumb strike down and then a thumb. P, I, M, A, M, I, P, I, M, P, I, M, P, I, M. So again, planted on strings 3, 2, 1, thumb, and again notice that it's full planting and then sequential planting. Sequential. So I'm making sure that my thumb strikes fingers are sticking to those strings a microsecond before we start. And those are the 2 main patterns that you need throughout the second section. There is this wonderful descending line, which ends that second section, but that is such a simple generic pattern that I haven't highlighted it. Most of you will have come across this already in the studies of Giuliani and Saul. So let's dive straight into the chords and microstudy number 2. Alrighty, now that you've got your right hand up and running, let's have a look at the left hand. So it is more effective to focus on the left hand as chord shapes, and it is a standard chord shape, which is a power chord shape with your second finger on, or if you want to think of it as a full bar chord with your first finger off. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Main thing here is to shift up and down the slides with your second finger and try and lift fingers 1, 3 and 4 off. Not too much, but enough not to squeak too badly. There is going to be some squeaking, especially that first finger. Main tip here is do not squeeze in with your thumb. Please pull back on the guitar as you put the chord down and then release to shift. This section is going to tire your left hand out. There is no two ways about it, especially once you start doing up here where you've got to push in a lot harder and change the angle of your left hand onto the strings. And I mean, as you can see of me pushing down, you can see how much I have to push through the tension on my guitar to get that chord in. So be very much aware of the tension in your left hand, trying to relax it at every moment that you've got. So once you've got it down, there are some fantastically big jumps here. So don't concentrate on your left hand where it is, concentrate on where it has to go. So to the D, or to the C sharp, or to the high E. Make sure your eyes are there and your hand just comes into eye line, lasering ahead. Right, let's check out those chord shapes. Okay, so the first chord shape section is an F sharp to a G and back down to an F sharp. This repeats a lot in this section, so you better get used to this. This is going to be coming back. Use it as a memory guide, so every time it recurs, try and figure out where it's going to afterwards. This repeats. So as you can see, I'm using fingers 1, 3, 4 and 2, lifting them up. And now I am going to laser ahead to the D natural for 2 bars, and then the C sharp for 2 bars. And then it goes back. And then we're going to go down to F for 2 bars and E for 2 bars. For clarification, just so that we are on the same page, the first repeat bar is with open string pattern number 1, where your hand is planted on strings 4, 3 and 2. And then when you have a 2-bar pattern, it is right hand pattern number 2, where your right hand is planted on strings 3, 2 and 1, and you stroke through with your thumb 3 strings. Laser ahead. And that is it for those 2 micro studies. Main thing is get the left hand working first. And make sure that you laser ahead. That is your first big chunk. Learn that successfully. Once you think you've got it, stick the right hand pattern in and put the 2 together. Welcome to the next micro study. So we're going to be shooting up from that E. Notice how I'm using fingers 3, 4 and 2 for my E major chord. You're going to slide up into 5th position for the A, and then it's going to be B flat, A, and repeat, A, B flat, A, and then you're going to shift from the A up a major 3rd, this time to C sharp, in for 2 bars, down to C natural for 2 bars, and then you're going to go back to the A. And again, these sections correspond to right hand patterns. So we have right hand pattern 1. So again, left hand first, then the right, and you should hopefully be practicing your right hand, and then put them together, noticing the shifts. So this time it's a major 3rd, A to C sharp, lifting those fingers up so that you can facilitate and pulling back on your guitar when you land in the right spot. All right, let's have a look and see where it goes to from that point in the next microstudy. Alrighty, so we're back to A again. No repeat this time. B flat, B, G sharp, G, and then we're back into F sharp, G, F sharp. So again, A, B flat, A, G sharp, G, F, G, F, and then that repeats before we shift up into the next position, which is at the 7th fret for a B. And then obviously we have the right hand pattern. So right hand pattern 1. And then from this point it is just the first bar of right hand pattern 1. Before we shift up into the B. Practice them separately, put them together. You know the drill now, so it should be second nature, and hopefully you're starting to build up the entirety of the section now in little chunks. Let's check out the next microstudy. Okay, welcome to the next microstudy. So this is the third iteration of F sharp to G we've had, and then we shift up to the B. C, B, which repeats, B, C, B, and now we get a tough change. You've got to go up to a high E. Now to facilitate that, again, my thumb is on the bout of the guitar just about. I'm wrapped around it, and I'm now pushing around. These fingers are curled around and pushing in with the tips of the fingers because you need to clear that open E and B string. Classic Villa-Lobos, chords against open strings. I mean, this goes all the way back to Etude number 1 where we get these chords. With a right hand pattern. Etc, etc. So we have in this bit the B, C, B, repeat. We then shoot up to 12th fret for an E. It then moves down a tone to D at 10th fret. C sharp, C, B, so that's chromatically. 10, 9, 8, 7, and then we do it in tones again. 5, 3, and guess where we're going to? 2. Back to our F sharp, G, F sharp idea. Yet again, we have right hand patterns associated with it. Right hand pattern number 1 for B to C. Right hand pattern 2 for the E. And then once we move down the tone, it is half of right hand pattern 1. So again, memorize it in sections. B to C, E, and then chromatic, tones. Back to the 4th repeat of the F sharp to G idea. Alright, let's see what happens in the next microstudy. Alright, welcome to the next microstudy. So we then have a repeat again. F sharp to G, which repeats twice. Then shifts up a 4th to the B, which also repeats twice, B to C. From this point, your 3rd finger is going to slide up 1 fret to the G on fret 10. 2nd finger is going to go onto fret 9 on the next string, string 4, and then string 3, finger 1. And Villa-Lobos fantastically clashes this augmented chord against these open strings. He then shifts it down chromatically. point of a B. So we're moving down from fret 10 to fret 2 with our third finger. Guide finger here is your first finger, and I suggest you just lift fingers 2 and 3 off as you shift. So it's a helicopter lift, quick shift. That's the only time that you're going to need fingers 2 and 3 just to shift down. The right hand pattern changes ever so slightly here. We have right hand pattern number 2 into the second half of right hand pattern number 1. And then it is just a AMI repeats once you've hit that point. Now, to keep track of this, I actually just count the B's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I know I'm back into that repeat. Then that needs to be a little bit more jaunty, because obviously you have escaped the police. There is a lovely story around this piece, which we will cover in the second video. Otherwise known as the Rascal of Rio. It gives you a characterization to follow through this entire piece to really nail the feel of it. So, main thing here is right hand and left hand, practice them separately. There are only 2 shapes in this section. This shape and this shape. Hi, how are we doing? Are we enjoying this video? There is a ton of new content just like this coming out on this channel. So if you want to get in ahead of the queue, hit the like button and maybe even subscribe to the channel. Let's dive straight back into Prelude number 2. Okay, 65 on the Soundbremmer app, just to make sure that it is nice and comfortable. And here we go from the beginning, second section, just as left-hand chords. Thank you very much for staying until the end. This has been brought to you by ClassicalGuitarRocks.com. There are a ton of lessons just like this aimed at advancing guitarists. So if you're looking for some Villa-Lobos, some DNs, a lot of Brower, then you need to head over there. There are still some free lessons there. There are also a ton of courses that you can take. If you're looking to up your game, then head over to ClassicalGuitarRocks.com for a little 6-string inspiration today.